plans going forward as of now? Like what you're planning to do with YouTube and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the YouTube things has always been just kind of a hobby for me personally. But I realize now that I have a little bit more attention than I did, a few months ago. So I was telling Debbie earlier that, my passion as far as hobby YouTube stuff is actually making videos, directing documentaries. I really like making music videos, and I've done a few of those. Just kind of some random stuff, specific to Oregon even. I'm not saying that I would never go farther, but it's always easier to do videos the set is right here in your own backyard. So I do have plans on making some more videos that require editing to put on YouTube. Not some, I'll do some live streams just to kind of keep people posted. But my passion as far as videos on YouTube is actually like thought out, documentary style, remote location, cave exploring, getting up and close to rattlesnakes, music videos, kind of that kind of stuff. So yes, I'll keep pursuing that as a hobby. If it eventually gets enough momentum to actually make a little bit of money, that's a bonus. So my future plans, I'm still researching some other stuff to do with the knowledge I've gained over the past 4 months to move forward and obviously help people throughout the country and possibly the world as well. But those things don't happen overnight, so it might take several weeks, several months. But I will be obviously keeping all my options open and trying to plan my future accordingly. I can always fall back on doing electrical work. I'll never let my license expire. Is that my preference? Obviously not. So that's kind of my motivation to do something else, so I don't have to put my tool bags back on.
Understood. I know you said on your introduction to Nick Rinn live stream the other day that you were a master diver. Have you ever done cave diving?
No, I've never. That's kind of a separate specialty. However, I was talking about this on my live stream. I don't remember if that was yesterday or the day before, but there is an actual cave here in Oregon called the Malheur Cave, and it has an underground lake in it. And so the water doesn't go all the way to the roof of the cave. It's about halfway. So it's more of a cavern. Me and a buddy several years back, when we found out about it, we took our snorkeling gear out there, and we hiked down. It's about a 1/4 mile hike once you enter the cave to get to the water's edge. And then we put on our wetsuits and our snorkeling gear, and we snorkeled the cave with obviously dive lights, because it's a cave. It's pitch black if you don't have a light. And we went back into that cave as far as we could go with snorkel gear. And it was about, I'm going to say, 1/4 to a 1/2 mile. And it was it was an amazing experience. The water's crystal clear. It's spring water. And so it feels like you're floating in the middle of this massive cave. And the visibility is, you can see as far as your light will shine. When we finally got to the back of the cave, the lid came down and to where you couldn't snorkel anymore unless you wanted to try to hold your breath and go in. Because I did hold my breath and go down and peek under, and it only was closed off for maybe 10 to 15 feet. And then I could see where it opened back up again. And so right then we were like, we got to come back with our dive gear so we can keep going farther and farther. We have plans to go out there. However, it's more complicated now because the cave is owned by the Freemasons, and they have, because of people doing vandalism and whatnot, they have since they've welded a metal wall with a gate in the middle of it. And I believe it's locked. You have to get access from them, or they do have dates that they put on their website as to where they'll basically allow the public to come tour it. So I'm hoping to go back, because if I get to go back to actually dive it, I'm taking all the camera gear, and I will make a video of that particular dive.
That's awesome. I've never dived whatsoever, aside from watching you guys.
Okay, of safety and that I just never had the patience to. Yeah, the pictures and the videos look amazing, and I actually got a little bit interested in it a few years back when they had that Thailand incident where the soccer team got trapped in that cave, and of course the whole world watched that unfold over about a 2-week time period. And then the only way they were able to solve that or figure out how to get those boys out is they reached out to some civilian expert cave divers. It wasn't Navy SEALs, it wasn't military or law enforcement. It was actually cave divers, and so that was what inspired me to reach out locally, kind of to feel out what it would take to get cave certified. And the guy that I talked to was the one that told me about the Malheur Cave. And he said, just get your snorkel gear and go check out that cave if you're interested in cave diving. So anyway, that's kind of why I got interested in that.
Are you able to answer any questions about the Kiely case?
It depends on what it is. If I don't want to answer it or can't, I'll let you know.
Yeah, you go ahead and ask whatever you would like on that. I've got a couple too. And then, yeah, he already told me before we went live that he has like a little thing that he wants to say.
But you can ask your question first.
Okay. The roadside Nick guy was that was the extra footage that if they had went the play route that we would have got to see the rest of his story, right?
Some of it was that, and there was some other stuff too. But I've had people ask this, and regardless of how the police determined or what they determined the cause of accident was or foul play, that even if you saw what we cut out, it would not have necessarily changed the results of the investigation. The local authorities had the same information we had. We just didn't share it with the public. So hopefully I get a lot of people that hit us up. You need to release the footage. Kiely deserves the justice. Well, it wouldn't have mattered. So it wouldn't have determined the outcome of the investigation.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've said to a lot of people, that if there was evidence, you wouldn't be holding it back for content.
No,
that's what y'all had before y'all left. I'm pretty sure I heard them say. So that's kind of mind blowing. Some people just have, low common sense, I guess. But yeah, I just wanted to ask about that if that was part of it, because I know a lot of people constantly question. I'm a true crime channel also, and a lot of people constantly question what was the footage and was it evidence, and I'm constantly telling them no, but it'd be a lot nicer to be able to say no, for a fact. But
I'll answer this question real quick. For the guest, can you please explain to us your level of training, your dive certifications, how many log dives you have to help support as SAR diver? Yes, I can tell you that. So my personal level of certifications, I happen to have my stack right here next to me. I've got a few different ones, so I'll read them off to you. Obviously, you have to start out by getting your open water certification, and then after that, the next step up is to get your advanced open water diver certification. Then after that, you work your way up to rescue diver. Next, along with that, is emergency oxygen provider. Enriched air nitrox, that's for breathing nitrogen enriched air. This is peak performance buoyancy, especially dive against debris. That's more of how to log the amount of trash you pull out of a particular area. And there's a worldwide map that shows how many pounds of garbage is getting pulled out of different waterways around the world. Equipment specialist, that's kind of an extra training on more details of all the diving equipment that you use. Dry suit diver. Altitude diver, that's for making dives over 1,000 feet in elevation. Lionfish hunter, that's for hunting lionfish in areas where they have them. And with those, that brings you up to master scuba diver. Then I went to the professional route and got my dive master. And then when you get that far, you're like, oh, I might as well go to the next level, which is assistant instructor. After that, basically then the next step, there's your basic open water instructor. And then once you have that, you can start getting specialty instructor courses. So I can teach boat diver specialty, dry suit specialty, underwater navigation, night diving, and full face mask. And then recently, with all those, then that brings you to my current rank, which is master scuba diver trainer. So that's pretty much my background. And my amount of logged dives right now is around 300. So, and those are in all over the world, cold water, warm water, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that answers your question. I don't remember who that was.
When we were talking about the Woody Harrelson thing. So you already know that eventually, probably sooner rather than later, kind of like they did with it. Personally, I think the Gabby Petito movie was far too soon. I did not watch it. I couldn't. Who do you want to play you in the movie?
Obviously, Woody Harrelson. I honestly have not thought of that, but I think it would be cool to see Woody Harrelson play me. So.
Squirrel girl, so I just wanted to correct that because I did make that mistake. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Anyway, I think you already answered, Nick, but somebody asked, how long have you been diving total? How long have you been doing this? I think you answered it a couple times, right?
I started diving in 1987. So what is it?
87,
Looks like 35 years.
Yeah. Wow.
35 years. So you're
35 years. However, I got certified when I was 13 years old, and I lived in Kansas at the time. In fact, we had to go to a place called Beaver Lake, Arkansas.
Creating something new and better and bigger. And as my mom always taught me, and I taught my kids, sometimes, what may come and you might think it's a really bad thing or something that's being destroyed, right? It's actually making way for something bigger and better.
Yeah, I agree. There's it's kind of one of the simple, when one door closes, there's always going to be another door open. So.
Saul, that's my joke logo. I guess you could say Adventures with Pensions, because I can imagine, without going into anything, I'm gonna put my logo back so there's no confusion. Here, we're not asking any Jared questions. I don't think that even when I cover a case, I try not to give any try not to discuss that, because people are considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. When you have a situation where there's confessions or pseudo confessions, people tend to then kind of oh well, they're guilty. Well, we still have to wait. So gotta wait it out. Let the courts do their thing, but we do our thing in the meantime. Absolutely. Okay, so I have an early question from chat here. I hope they're still here. Oh goodness, I just lost it. Hang on. So simply go ahead. Oh, thank you so much. You go ahead with yours. I got to find this early question in chat because it was a really, really good one.
Okay, no problem. I came in a little bit late, so I'm sorry if I'm asking some of the same things that maybe you have already answered, Nick. But I did watch both of your videos that you made, and I seen that you are a scuba instructor, I believe it is.
Yes.
And you plan on getting Josh certified, or is that his name, Josh?
Yes, Josh Carson. We are awesome. The first week of January. And real quick, sorry to interrupt your question. That reminds me of I saw a person in the comment earlier that was saying, shame on you as a search and recovery diver for putting a editor in the water without the proper training. Just to be clear, to let you know that Carson, when I put him in the water, I know which episode he's referring to, that he saw that. He has been in the water before with scuba gear. He has done a Discover Scuba Dive. And so if you have any knowledge of what that means, he has the bare minimum to get in the water. The location that I put him in the water was about 8 feet deep. There was little to no current, and I was right there within 20 feet of him. I had myself and another diver at any second we could have got in to help. So I wasn't just throwing somebody into the wolves, just to answer that question. So anyway.
That doesn't know. Oh my. Okay, so I'll tell everybody what it is. A girl went missing, a 16-year-old Trinity Backus, and was she? I haven't followed that one because it was only a couple of days, but it's also in Nevada County, and it was a redheaded girl. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And she was found deceased. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was missing just for about a day or two.
Yeah.
And I don't know that. I don't want to give the wrong information because I thought I seen somewhere that she was in the front yard. Then I seen something else that she had went for a walk to her boyfriend's house. But yeah, I guess they found her barefoot in a heavily wooded area, and the cops are saying they don't find it suspicious.
What?
Which
I'm
is
sorry.
weird to me. A 16-year-old out in the woods, like in a wooded area by some type of water. No, that's suspicious to me.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, but Truckee Police Department, if you're listening, I don't think you can find your butt with both hands. For one thing, there was such an issue going on with that case. I didn't like any of that. Without going, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but 14 feet, anyway. Wow. Okay.
So is Nick a breakdancer? Is that actually a thing?
I was just about to ask the same question. I keep seeing that in the chat, something about asking you to show your breakdancing skills. I guess you breakdance 10 years ago. Is it true?
That's funny. I was part of a hip hop dance deal. That was like, gosh, that was almost 20 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Okay. So
Can I ask a quick question while you're doing that?
absolutely.
Okay. No, it was just like the second part of what I was saying earlier about, I did see that you were going to properly train them. And my question was, are you guys planning on maybe starting your own little group? Is that what the goal is maybe in the end, or?
I don't necessarily know if that's what I would classify as a goal. Could that possibly happen someday? Absolutely. But more for anything, those guys, after being on the road with us and seeing us dive, I think it just intrigued them to where, regardless of whether you're doing it for work or entertainment, I think they want to just get certified so they can, properly start doing it more. And being that they know a person who is very experienced at it, and I do also have a boat that I do guided trips off of here in Oregon. I think they had a lot of interest to come join me on some of those trips. So that's kind of where it is right now.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I have a question for you about the Donnie Messier case when they recovered his vehicle.
Sure.
What would have been the best way to do that? Because I know that there was issues kind of with how they did it, and it wasn't full of rocks. Did y'all have to dig out the rocks before you were able to recover the vehicle, or how does that even take place?
So if you've seen the footage, the video mostly has number one, even Jared describes in there how it should have been recovered. And two, yes, it was filled with rocks, but we offered our services. And of course, like most law enforcement agencies, they say, we're going to have to take over from here because you guys aren't part of law enforcement. You can't do this recovery, but we will. They used our equipment and whatever. So is exactly how they did it underwater. I wasn't able to see that. They tried to dredge it as much as they could. And, as you saw, they didn't hook it up properly or use the proper equipment to get that out of there. But, that's neither here nor there. We got pushed aside. So we had no control over how that got recovered.
I understood.
Well, yeah, I do know from watching. I mean, I've watched a lot of the videos, and even after, and I hope, please continue that cause. It's so wonderful. I mean, I don't know how you're going to come up with a name than Adventures with Purpose. I mean, that's incredible. That was a great name. But I think that a lot of people will help you. And I have one question for you is, once you have your team together, who, if you could, let's see.
I have one more question about Kiely, if you could answer. Could you put it into the speculation about if she was nude or dressed?
The only thing I can say is that the part of her that I saw was clothed.
Thank you.
Okay. I talked with Detective Sonia just a couple of weeks ago. I know that a lot of people are thinking that the case is closed because they came out with, the results of the autopsy. The case is not closed. The case is still open. They have not officially closed that case. So.
Well, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I'd have to look at my phone. It was less than 2 weeks ago that I talked to him because somebody came to me with some anonymous information. And so I just passed that along. That was a couple weeks ago. And that was, I do have the receipts on all of this, but apparently Sammy, the story that she told about leaving at 12:20 and Elsa saying she left at 12:30, those were not correct. The girls left together at 11:15 with boys. That's according to parents who actually saw this. And it's actually in the official police documents. We just haven't been shown those. So I mean, the public. I've seen the texts with the parents that show the chain of events as it happened in real life. That final text that everybody talks about, Mom, I'm going to be leaving a little bit, going to be late, heading home in 45 minutes, I think is what they put out there. That was not correct at all. She actually was telling her mom by text that she was going to ask Connor for a ride, and she was going to leave her car there. That was at 11:15. And Sammy went ahead and got out of her car at that point, went over, and for some reason, I don't know, I would love to hear from her, would love an explanation. She decided to just leave with Connor and Tyler and Elsa. And they went to a second location for another party. They just ditched her there, basically. So, not cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's actually how it went down. That's why, and Connor was like at police quarters the whole next day because they, according to the last text, she said she was going to be getting a ride from Connor. So they had to go through and prove where Connor was, and so he was ultimately not, but he was like a suspect for that whole day. Like, where is she? Did you take her somewhere? What happened? So they couldn't find her car. But ultimately they were able to prove by the parents that he was there with these other people. So I don't know why they put out there, hey, Sammy kept saying over and over, I talked to her at 12:20, and then I called her at 12, or she called me at 12:36. All that, none of that happened, y'all. None of that happened.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I have it recorded, transcribed, the whole bit, so, and receipts to back it up. That's why I always thought that was really interesting. And I haven't said anything on my channel about it until right now, but I need somebody that's good with audio, because I told the person that I'm not going to release what they told me until I can disguise their voice. And my software, CapCut, just doesn't do a good job. So I need somebody that can, keep the confidentiality of my person and help me fix the audio. So, hey, Nick, if you know somebody, hook me up. That'd be great.
There's a couple of questions here in the chat. One of them said, and I don't know if you can answer both parts, but one of them said that they were wondering how you got into this. I'm assuming like diving and stuff. And they said they also want to know what Nick, the roadside, really had to say. And there was another question that said, is it hard to get some of the images out of your mind, like after you go searching and come across things, and they said safe to say that a lot of us are praying for you guys, and we hope that you guys are able to clear your minds after that kind of dives.
Before he answers, would you mind if I interjected one thing about one of your questions?
Hmm?
I want to interject real quick just on one of your questions, and that was about Nick. Nick,
it was a comment that I was reading. I just want to make it wasn't my question, but go ahead.
Oh, okay,
I'll just read the question out loud.
I don't know if you all have seen the interview that I think
Squirrel Girl
with Crime Talk did, but she said she didn't play the audio or anything. She just kind of said what was said in the interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that last night.
I would have preferred to hear the audio, but so she said that Nick doubled down on.
Yeah, that she had a direct call with him, correct? Is that what she? Is
yeah,
that
she said she had a phone call with him, and I guess she could have recorded it. I don't know. With permission, you can record anywhere in Oklahoma where I'm at. But she said that Nick doubled down, that he was absolutely certain that it was Kiely and all this stuff in her interview, and I can't put my ugh.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Like with the fire cam, he was saying, how was that her? He's like, how is that possible? Because I seen her Saturday morning. So it's, like you said, I would have liked to hear the audio as well, not just
for sure
her interpretation of it.
Yeah, I mean, if she's around, I would love to talk with her. If perhaps.
Yeah, she does pretty good work. I like her videos. I will say I do like her videos.
Yeah, I like her channel as well.
Can everybody hear me?
So yes,
we can.
Yeah, you're good.
So if you want to answer, if you're able to, Nick, somebody just wanted to know how you got into it, and then the other one was, is it hard to get those thoughts out of your mind when you come across certain things and dives, and that everybody's praying for you?
So how I got into it was just basically living in Central Oregon, and being a scuba diver is kind of a small, tight-knit community of people. It's not super popular here. So if you're a scuba diver, chances are you're going to know the other scuba divers in the area. So I happen to live in the same area that Jared lives. That's how we met. He was starting the YouTube page. This was several years ago. And so we just started going on dives. I mean, everybody likes to do little projects when you're a diver cleanup. It was more river cleanup type stuff than anything. And so it just kind of it was an evolution of trying to find something more interesting than the previous. And let's see if we can pull these cars out. And then that's when people started reaching out about looking for missing people. So that's kind of how I got into it. So search and recovery diving isn't necessarily specific to what we did, but that I was doing that just in my own diving training and local stuff just for fun. And so it just turned into what it did. As far as getting the images out of your head, well, I'll say you won't ever get them out of your head, but you just learn to deal with it, I guess would be, it's not the way that I see it. I'm glad that I was able to do that so that somebody else didn't have to. So if I can bear the burden of that, then I look at it as doing a good thing for not just that family, but for the rest of the world. So they don't have to do that. So I stay focused on the positive, and it's easier knowing that I didn't put these people here. I'm just finding them for their families. And so that's kind of the positive that I stay on.
Hey, Sleuthy, are you wanting to come up here? Send me an email. I will. It's on my about page, but I'll put it in chat one more time here.
Yes, Sleuthy, and I apologize. I just want to say out loud, I did just put it in the chat as well. You are absolutely right. I used the wrong word. It wasn't her interpretation of it. She said she was reading it word for word, talking about Squirrel Girl. So I just wanted to correct that because I did make that mistake. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Anyway, I think you already answered, Nick, but somebody asked, how long have you been diving total? How long have you been doing this? I think you answered it a couple times, right?
I started diving in 1987. So what is it? It's like 35 years.
Yeah. Wow.
35 years. So you're
35 years. However, I got certified when I was 13 years old, and I lived in Kansas at the time. In fact, we had to go to a place called Beaver Lake, Arkansas, is where we actually did our open water checkout dives. So
Sleuthy asked, I don't know if you're able to answer or not, but she said, can you answer honestly with regard to how possible or impossible it is that law enforcement missed Kiely's vehicle? Are you able to answer that or no?
Is it possible? Yeah, it is totally possible. Is it possible that the vehicle went in after they searched? It's totally possible. I mean, these are questions that I'm sure a lot of people are asking, including myself, but I don't have the answers for those. Right. And based on what I did for that whole thing, I wasn't on scene long enough to make any decision one way or the other. I'm not an actual investigator. My job is to just find something that's missing, hand that over to the law enforcement and the families, and on to the next. So hopefully the law enforcement and the investigators can do their job, and you have to trust what it is they come up with, because I don't there's really not much else we can do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's nothing else that you can do in a situation like that. I mean, we all have our opinions. Me, for one, was and am still very troubled by the autopsy, because my sister drowned. I have seen not only, unfortunately, what she looked like after being underwater for only 4 days, which was horrific, but I have her autopsy. I redacted it, and I was going to put it online, and then I decided not to. But it was just like, Kiely didn't have anything in there related to drowning. She didn't have any water in her stomach, her lungs. She wasn't in metabolic acidosis, which is what happens to your body right before you drown. I mean, it just happens on a metabolic level. She didn't have that, and that's like a huge one. I'm literally going to find the little notes I took off of my sister's autopsy and see. I'll probably never find them. I'm not going to worry about it. There's just nothing that matched what my sister's autopsy looks like. I think that they ruled it drowning based on circumstantial evidence, rather than what was actually, evidence on her body. Point blank. I mean, she was not drunk. She was not even high, and I knew that all along. I've been saying on my channel all along that I think that there's been some big hubbub over, oh, she drank everything I drank, and no. For being underwater, she'd been underwater for 2 weeks with a high alcohol level in her body already. It still would have been high, and it was very low, like legal limit low. And most of that was from, unfortunately, I don't even want to say it. That's what happens with our bodies. But so it's just like so much information that was put out here to the public was so wrong. And that's what's kind of fueled a lot of the conspiracies. I can just say fact-based wise with the autopsy, it doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. I've seen it. I've just seen my own sister's autopsy. I know what was explained to me by the medical examiner, how she drowned and stuff. None of it matches. I don't have my list right now. If anybody in chat, is familiar with what's, supposed to happen to your body, because I didn't want to go there anyway. But yeah, just none of it matched. I literally got out, Kiely's autopsy that was released online, printed it, put it right next to my sister's, and not one thing matched. That's weird. You have to admit that that's weird. But do either one of you have a follow-up question?
What was the temperature of the water when you guys had found her?
Oh, dang it. I had this written down at one point because it's in my dive computer. Do I have one? I can tell you. Give me a second. I got it in my dive log here. It was pretty warm considering the the time of year and everything that was. Let me see if I can find that. What was that? August 21st.
Thank you, T. Sophia.
It seems like the temperature of the water would really make a difference in the speed of things happening.
Sleuthy says you've already gone over this one time before just to save yourself some time. She said it was 75 degrees.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got it right here. 73 at the bottom, 75 at the top.
Pretty warm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was under the impression it was a lot colder than that for some reason. I know the dates and times, but I'm all the way down in Alabama, so summer for us is a lot different than summer up in the mountains.
Right. Remember, normally there's what's called a thermocline in bodies of water, lakes more than the ocean, but a thermocline means that the water temperature drops significantly once you get below a certain level. Most of the time, that's somewhere around 30 feet, give or take. And so, like a lot of times, that'll be a 10-degree difference. I mean, just a solid line where it drops, and every 30 feet, it'll drop again. So in Prosser Lake or any lake, when you're in less than 30 feet of water, the temperature from the surface to the bottom is not going to be much different. This was only in 14 feet of water, so that's why the temperature change from the top to bottom was very small.
Could you explain the passenger window? I know the driver's side got broke when they flipped the car, but I know you spoke on this before, but just so I can get some clarity, the passenger window was rolled down, in your opinion, correct? Not broken out.
Correct. My instinct said broke out, and I probably should have said just it's either down or broke out. It wasn't there, so yes, it could have been two of those. However, I didn't remember seeing any broken glass around, so it was probably just rolled down.
Right. To me, that seems suspicious because if you're driving that late at night, leaving a party, and they said it was around 50 degrees, and you've got your passenger window completely down, and then your rear driver's window halfway down, and then you end up in the hatch. That's why it was super suspicious to me. I could just see it, being dumped. If I'm being honest, to me, it seems like the car was more dumped. The water receded between the time she went in supposedly to the time you guys found her.
They were telling me approximately, just from the locals that were on scene or whatever, approximately 3 to 4 feet in level up and down. But you got to remember that changes quite a bit, considering that slope of the land, that could mean 20 to 30 feet along that slope. So I don't know exactly. There might be a way to get Google Earth shots, maybe with time stamps, but I just don't know.
Her horn, she could have screamed anything. It doesn't make sense. But
right, if that's the case though, and the car was at least 50 something feet.
Yeah. So the only thing I'll say on on that, and this is what I was telling you earlier, that I'll make a comment on this and then I won't talk about it anymore. Okay. The police, several weeks back came out and said they ruled this an accident. And of course, you're going to get people on both sides, saying that, no, it's not this, that, the other. The only thing I'm going to say is that, if that's the case, that's fine. But I don't really like the fact that they just say, we rule it an accident and that's it. We're not going to give you any more information. What I would like is, okay, if that's an accident, then to explain to me how she was in the back of the vehicle. Why were the windows rolled down? Why did nobody see her go in? Or why has nobody spoke out? Give us your theory as to how she ended up there. And then maybe all of us can process, okay, that's acceptable. But to just come out and say it's an accident and turn around and walk off stage, it doesn't make me feel all that great.
I agree. I completely agree.
I agree as well.
I wasn't convinced one way or another until we got to see the Prosser cams, and I don't understand why they went and yanked those away from us too. It's like, at least we had somewhere where we could go and look, but then they took it away, so we couldn't see anything after, which was kind of weird, But I got a whole bunch of it. I have several videos that I'm working on. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of it. Soon, me and my girls went running as soon as those images were up. We grabbed as much as we could before they pulled that down. I don't know if you're aware of that, Nick, but yeah, they took access away. It's like, really, somebody finally comes forward.
What did they take access away?
The Alder Hill cameras.
Oh,
where you can go back in the archives and look. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like obviously after a while you get sick of people asking you questions about it. That's why I was like, here's my stance on it. It's not my job, but I would like to know how she ended up there. And the fact that they don't give us any information doesn't make me that happy.
Understood. We all agree with you.
What fueled most of the speculation about everything that went on is just because they didn't give any answers, any explanations. Contrary data came out, and then they never responded to it, never clarified anything or explained themselves or what they were thinking, or like why they let an 18-year-old girl filter information. And there was so much in my mind that was a problem with it, and it just made no sense that they didn't speak on it any more than they did, and still are not speaking on it any more than they are. Right. The road that was leading to the reservoir where Kiely was found, how bad was that road? And was there any signs around there that would have kind of gave more clues that she could have went in there? Or was it not so much?
When I got there, got two things on that. Yes, the road going to that part is a bad road. We drove our RV down it, and I'm surprised it didn't break it on the way down that road. But the road going there is a very bad road. It's not possible. SUV, sure, but it's windy and it's bumpy. By the time I was on location, it was 2 weeks after she went missing, and the lake had receded. There's vehicles that drive right along the shoreline of that entire lake, or most of that lake. And so I didn't notice any tire tracks, but even if there would have been, there's probably no way to tell if they were 2 weeks old or if they were from her vehicle or some of the other ones. Like when we found her, there was a vehicle right up on that little point there of some paddle boarders hanging out, picnicking, throwing a ball for their dog. So people were there all the time.
Hey, Susie.
Hello.
I just when you jumped on, did you want to ask a question while she's?
Yeah, welcome, Susie.
Hey, I was going to ask a couple things. Number one, now I have Bad Flower stuck in my head ever since you said that. I was not expecting that Ghost was going to be a band that was going to pop up. But one, I'm trying to think of what I was saying in the chat. I guess first and foremost, I want to say that I hope that you know that with everything that's going on, that nothing that you guys have done that is good for families is negated from this. So just still be proud of yourself. And know that people are very grateful for you. One of my things was the water. We were talking about the water, and I'm just curious, like, was it clear water? Because it looked fairly clear to me in the video.
Yes.
For Kiely. Yeah, it was.
Exactly what you saw there, yeah.
And was there like a cut between you going under the water and then like looking at the vehicle? Like, was any of your, I guess, descent cut?
I don't believe so. It was right there.
Huh.
Remember, and I'll finish this and then let's please move on to something else besides Kiely, but it was 14 feet of water and an SUV is maybe 5 feet tall. So you can do the math. There was only a small amount of water column between me and where the bottom of the vehicle was.
Yeah, you can see in the footage that when you turned around and you went down, you didn't have to go far at all. You were right there. So
yeah, I mean, it didn't look cut. It looked like he just turned around and looked down. That's all. So that was something a lot of people were talking about was if there was a cut in between those because it looked so close to the surface.
No, the back of the car was only, if I'm remembering correctly, 4 feet under, and then the front of the vehicle, which was lower, was 11 feet. I think it was 11 and 4. So because the vehicle was 6 feet long, it's about how far it was. But yeah, he was right there on it.
Yeah.
As he went under the water.
That's crazy.
You could see it from above. In the footage, the drone footage, you can see it clear as a bell.
Yeah, I don't know, but I did want to ask about soot buildup though, like just in general on cars, because I know that they were saying that it's easier to see a car that's more dirty, I guess. Does it all depend on where you are, what kind of water it is? Well, no, let's just say fresh water, but does it matter? Like if it's fresh water anywhere, how long does it take, or does it go faster in others to get really sooty or silty?
I would assume it does take, it depends on where you're at. It would take either a long time or it could take a short amount of time, just depending on the lake. I mean, every single bottle of your water is different. How much current is there? There's so many variables. It's hard to give an answer as far as a timeline of exactly how long it takes for a certain amount of.
He has answered all Kiely questions that he wants to. Going forward as well, he said he doesn't want to be asked on any in the future. He wanted to put all that to rest today and not be asked again in the future. Any questions? Correct, Nick?
Yes, thank you.
So if you want to know his stance on anything Kiely related, look earlier, go back to the beginning of this video. You can get his answers there. He answered quite a bit. So I'm with you, if you don't mind. What is your very favorite memory of working with AWP?
Wow. There's a lot of them. The whole, all the team members, meeting a group of guys that was really good at what they did and learning about different types of techniques for filming. And, I would say probably the one that sticks out in my head the most was getting to ride in a boat on a ton of different waterways all across the country. That's pretty awesome. It's a pretty cool experience. I mean, I've been in almost every major river in the country. I've seen 3 of the Great Lakes, searched one of them.